We're looking at a powerful set of sources that argue discipline isn't something you feel, it's something you force.
That is the core premise.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's the truth that separates consistent success from, habitual failure. We're talking about the necessity of forcing yourself to do what has to be done, even when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to just stop or delay. If you build your life around waiting for that perfect feeling or waiting until you feel ready, you'll just wait forever.
And we all know that feeling, right? You set the alarm for 5 a.m., and when it goes off, you immediately get into this furious negotiation with yourself. Over the next few minutes, we're going to unpack the practical mechanisms, the actual how to stop that negotiation, how to rewire your brain through action, and ultimately gain control over that inner dialogue that's just manufacturing excuses. It's time to stop treating discipline like a gift and start building it through intentional force. So let's start right there with the non-negotiable truth of it all. The source material defines it with stark clarity. Discipline is forced action. It's the conscious override of comfort. It is not about finding some spark. It's about overriding that immediate desire to delay, which is, just progress being stolen by comfort.
And that comfort is rooted in the central enemy, laziness. The authors call laziness the enemy of your future. And for a good reason. It's a master negotiator that never, ever runs out of excuses. It's infinitely adaptable.
I'm really fascinated by that adaptability because we usually picture laziness as, someone literally just sitting on the couch doing nothing. But the insight here is that it often disguises itself as high-activity avoidance. Can you give us some real-world examples of what that looks like?
Oh, absolutely. It's the person who avoids writing that difficult chapter by spending 3 hours perfectly reorganizing their email inbox. Or cleaning the garage with surgical precision when a major presentation is due tomorrow.
Right. Busy work.
Exactly. It's the endless scrolling, preparing elaborate food you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
It's all designed to keep you busy enough to feel functional, but distracted enough to avoid the one difficult thing where real progress happens. Laziness wins by fooling you into thinking you're doing enough.
That reframes the entire battle, and it shows why that negotiation aspect is so dangerous. So if laziness is that adaptable, how do we make sure we don't accidentally train our minds to obey it? I mean, skipping one workout, it doesn't seem like the end of the world.
But the authors argue that even those tiny compromises condition the mind. Every single time you allow a small excuse to stand, every time you delay, you are training your mind to say no to discipline. You're building the habit of surrender. So when that truly massive high-stakes moment arrives, your brain's default response is just to quit, because you've been training it to quit on the small things for weeks.
So refusing to negotiate really means taking a stand on the small things first.
Absolutely. It means taking that stand when the excuses are, as they say, screaming the loudest. And refusing that negotiation isn't self-punishment. It's defined as self-respect at the highest level. You are showing respect for your future self enough to make the hard choice right now. You're telling yourself, my future goals are worth this moment of discomfort. That choice, that's the birthplace of strength. And that leads us directly from theory into the mechanics of immediate action. See, discipline isn't built in these giant leaps. It's forged in small, instant actions taken the exact moment they're needed. Every second you delay weakens your ability to respond. We call this training the instant response muscle.
Okay, I get the goal is instant action, but why is the timing so critical? I think a lot of us feel like we just need a few minutes to, mentally prepare for a tough task.
Because the human brain is lightning fast at creating counter-arguments. As soon as you decide to do something hard, the emotional part of you is on board. But within seconds, the rationalizing part of your brain jumps in with a whole list of excuses. You're tired, you'll do it later, the conditions aren't perfect. If you pause, you give those excuses the space to take hold. But if you move immediately, you win. You cut off the rationalization process before it can even start.
So it's like a preemptive strike against your own inner saboteur. What are some starter actions listeners can use to start building this muscle?
Start simple. Make them non-negotiable instant responses. The moment your alarm rings, the action is standing up. No phone check, no negotiation, just movement. The moment you think, I should drink some water, get it immediately. Pick up the book, open the laptop. These small actions are so critical because picking up that book today trains the exact same mental muscle you'll need to start a business tomorrow. It connects decision to movement.
It's all about reinforcing that message. I control my response. To help with that, the sources suggest a simple technique, the 3-2-1 move rule.
Yes. When you feel that hesitation creeping in, you just count down. 3, 2, 1, move. It's a simple ritual, but it forces a new immediate reflex. It's a tool to bridge that gap between deciding and doing.
But I have to ask, isn't counting to 3 just another form of delay? How do we make sure that 3-second countdown doesn't just become another negotiation tactic?
That's a great question, and it's a critical point. The reason it works is that the count isn't for debate. It's an external countdown to create a mandatory trigger. It turns a decision into a command. The rule has to be non-negotiable. If you say 3, 2, 1, you move. Over time, you build that kinetic chain reaction. Eventually, you won't even need the countdown. Your body just follows the command. And that conditioning, that's the foundation of self-trust.
Okay, so now that we've trained the body to move, let's talk about the internal conflict. Because even the best habits can break down if your mind is fighting you every step of the way. The greatest battles of discipline are all fought inside your head. Every action starts as a thought, right?
Right. And thoughts are the seeds of decisions. If you don't control them, they will absolutely control you. This is where we get into what the sources call thought management and strict self-direction. The first step is just awareness and filtration. The average person lives on cognitive autopilot, just assuming their thoughts are facts. Discipline requires you to stop, observe a thought, and ask, is this leading me forward or is it holding me back?
So you're not arguing with the thought, you're just assessing its utility. And once you find a destructive thought, what's the next step? You can't just leave a vacuum there.
Precisely. You have to replace it immediately. If your mind says, this is too hard, I'm going to fail, you consciously replace it with, I may struggle, but I can learn and I can tackle the first 5 minutes. You are actively directing your mind away from weakness and towards action.
And that direction requires strict language. The authors are really clear on this. We have to speak to ourselves like a leader giving orders, not a critic. But what's the real difference between being strictly directive and just being cruel to yourself?
It's a crucial distinction. Self-criticism attacks your identity. I am lazy. I am a failure. Strict direction attacks the lack of action. The plan is X. Start step 1 now. It's clear, purposeful, focused on the immediate task, like a coach. Cruelty is vague and debilitating.
I think precision is the key there. Vague stuff like, I can do it, or I need to be better. It's just not effective. It needs to be an exact command.
Yes. Write 1 paragraph now. Walk to the corner and back. Precision leaves no room for excuses. And we also have to be on guard against what the authors call the deception of kindness.
Deceptive kindness. That's interesting. How can kindness be deceptive?
Well, negative self-talk often disguises itself as comfort. It whispers things like, you deserve a rest, you had a hard day, even when you didn't finish the work.
Or you can just catch up tomorrow.
Exactly. Strict direction cuts through that emotional noise with clarity. Rest is earned, not given. Do the work first. You're choosing clarity over comfort. And this internal management really sets the stage for the engine of consistency, which is forced repetition. We're literally rewiring the brain. A behavior gets easier because your neurological pathways adapt to what's repeated, whether it's useful or not. So we use force at the beginning to build that behavior until the brain just accepts the new pattern as routine.
The big obstacle there, of course, is pushing past that stage of discomfort and sheer boredom. I know a lot of people quit when the initial excitement is gone and it just feels like a grind.
And that's where the test is. People quit because they expect discipline to feel natural right away. But you have to force repetition through that numb, uncomfortable middle stage until it becomes automatic. This is also why consistency always beats intensity. 2 pages of reading every single day is way more powerful for brain rewiring than binging 100 pages once a month. Daily input forces daily adaptation.
We touched on external force earlier, but let's talk more about using pressure to defeat comfort. Comfort is the ultimate enemy because it removes all urgency. It always tells you tomorrow is just as good as today. Pressure creates that urgency now.
And we don't have to wait for it. We can impose it ourselves. The courses give us 4 specific tools. The first is accountability. What makes that actually work?
Well, the sources are clear. It only works if there's a consequence. Just telling a friend you're going to run a marathon isn't really enough. Effective accountability means telling someone who will hold you publicly responsible or attaching a financial or social cost to failure. That pressure makes the action non-optional.
Right. Then there are deadlines. Setting firm, even artificially short deadlines. Why shorten them?
It leverages Parkinson's law, right? Work expands to fill the time available. By setting an aggressive internal deadline, you force yourself into a state of focused urgency now. You're preventing that slow creep of idleness.
The other 2 are about commitment. Financial investment, putting money on the line for a course or a coach that creates massive pressure. And finally, responsibility. When other people rely on you, that external pressure forces you to rise above your own personal laziness. Action becomes the only choice.
As we move toward the ultimate applications of this, we have to talk about mental toughness. The sources define it as the strength to stay with the effort instead of escaping into relief. This is the moment you choose pain. The discomfort of effort is temporary, but the weakness and regret from always chasing relief, that's permanent.
And that mental toughness is essential for fighting impulses. Impulses are short-term thieves. They blind you to future consequences because the reward is right now. The strategy here isn't just to ignore the impulse, but to pause and do a visualization exercise.
A visualization exercise, how does that work in the heat of the moment?
Before you give in to the comfort, the distraction, you pause and visualize the concrete, emotional cost of surrendering. You actually picture the stress of unfinished work piling up tomorrow. You picture the regret of losing the progress you spent months building. That vivid emotional reminder of the future pain. It cuts right through the temporary pleasure of the impulse.
So it really is about choosing which pain you're going to accept, the temporary useful pain of effort or the permanent destructive pain of regret.
Exactly. And finally, we have to talk about the ultimate form of focus, directing energy only toward tasks that truly matter. So many people fall into the trap of false productivity. They're busy, but their activity has no leverage.
I think we all know this trap. It's the busy work we mentioned earlier, the endless organizing, spending an hour perfecting a spreadsheet. It feels productive, but it moves the needle absolutely nowhere.
The solution is just absolute clarity. You have to identify your top 3 tasks each day, the actions that directly align with your long-term goals, and reserve your peak energy for them. This means having the courage to say a firm no to everything else, to protect your focus ruthlessly. That limited energy has to be invested in building something that lasts, not scattered on trivialities.
So, to quickly recap our deep dive here, forcing discipline is not a feeling. It is conditioned action. It starts by just refusing that inner negotiation with laziness, cutting off excuses before they can even form. We build that strength with the instant response muscle. We master the internal battle with strict self-direction. And then we make it all permanent through forced repetition, consistency, and applying self-imposed pressure.
That's it. True achievement comes from training your mind to act regardless of your emotional state. You have to treat motivation like a pleasant bonus, but consistency built on conditioned response. That's the non-negotiable standard. When you build those standards and force yourself to act on them every day, your brain eventually just surrenders to the new pattern.
The sources state that after enough repetition, the identity itself shifts. At first, you carry the habit, then the habit carries you. 1. So if you look at your life today, what single, small, consistent action could you commit to forcing for the next 30 days, no matter how you feel, to prove to yourself that your words have authority and to start that powerful shift in your own identity? That decision, that's the start of the disciplined life.